Richard Pryor playing himself in lighter moments of his life story that wind up with him becoming a suicidal drug addict. The film is called JoJo Dancer, Your Life is Calling, and it is one of 4 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on At the Movies, the movie review program. I'm Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. In addition to JoJo Dancer, this week we'll also be reviewing Short Circuit with Ali Sheedy and Steve Guttenberg in the story of a robot that's almost human. And Broken Rainbow, a documentary about American Indians who are forced off their land. First Gene starts with a comedy about a family that takes the wrong vacation.
In fact, I think this film is based on all those summer vacation movies. When Last Resort began, I thought it was going to be a lot of fun, a perfect concept film, as they say in Hollywood. The concept being a nice middle-class family from Chicago gets trapped into taking a vacation at a sleazy version of Club Med, a broken-down, sex-oriented spot called, I like this name, Club Sand, operating out of a heavily guarded strip of rocks in a Banana Republic. Now, one of the initial misunderstandings is quite cute, as Charles Grodin, head of the family, tries to get some drinks from a mean bartender.
2 red fruit cocktails. 2 red fruit cocktails.
Quelque chose à boire?
I don't speak, 2 red fruit cocktails.
Oh, 2 fruit cocktails.
Yeah.
Red.
Right.
Yeah, tokens.
What?
Tokens.
Token.
Do you speak English?
That's what I'm speaking, English.
What?
Can I buy them with dollars?
Oh, God.
What?
You Americans bore me.
Why?
You know, everyone in the world does not use your dollar system. Didn't you know that?
Why not?
What?
Give me $20 worth of tokens.
Tokens.
Tokenza, we got the joke the first time. The script, though, goes downhill as Grodin and his family are subjected to one sex joke after another. Here is the come-on of a gay club counselor.
This really isn't your kind of scene, is it? Well, not really. You don't say much, Mr. Lawler, but when you do, it matters to you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I know you. I know who you are, what kind of person. You're very sensitive, aren't you? You're very vulnerable.
Yeah, I guess.
You're very attractive.
And they're very dull. Later, the film gets worse as Charles Grodin starts yelling at everything and everyone that moves, including some guerrilla fighters.
Whoa! Whoa! Oh, I see. Well, you guys are. What are you guys? Are you guys soldiers, or are you gorillas? Good gorillas. So what's happening down here? It's like the government is. I should know, but I'm just another stupid American.
Well, all the gorillas do is eat chicken for a while. That's not too funny. And Grodin's screaming. Well, my guess is that he shouts, and I don't think this is an exaggeration. I'll check it with Roger in a minute. I would say he yells about 1/3 of his lines, screaming at his wife and children for enjoying themselves and at the club employees. Constantly screaming. He's too good an actor to be forced to scream that much. All I could think of while I watched this movie is how much funnier it would have been if it had been written by and starred Woody Allen, especially early in Woody Allen's career where he might have made such a film, or more recently, Steve Martin or Albert Brooks, or probably anyone listening to my voice who's ever written a complete sentence, because this script really goes in the dumper.
I think you put your finger on something. I don't think the screenplay was really finished when they started shooting the movie. And the fact is, there are moments from time to time that all by themselves are funny. For example, the walls that you can hear right through.
Yes.
Or the whole idea that they were at the wrong camp for a
The
family.
idea is fun.
The idea is good, and yet there are whole characters that aren't developed. For example, his son and his daughter, the old, not the little kid, but the older teenage son and daughter, who obviously were supposed to represent something, and then they're just kind of lost in the shuffle. Other things are lost in the shuffle, too. Good idea, poor execution.
That's it. Next at the movies, a robot stars as a perfect weapon of war and ends up a pretty nice guy.
What the hell have you done? I'll take care of this.
He is a comedy named Short Circuit, the story of a robot that's been constructed as a weapon of war. In its test runs, it scoots around the battlefield shooting laser beams at the enemy, till one day it's struck by a bolt of lightning and undergoes a complete personality change. The movie stars Steve Guttenberg. He was the skipper in Cocoon as the eccentric scientist who invented the robot, which is nicknamed Number 5. And here's a scene where Guttenberg and a fellow scientist try to track down the robot after it escapes from the factory.
I know you're listening, so pick up the mic.
This is Crosby. How's your back, Howard?
Oh, just hunky-dory, thanks. I just swore out some warrants for your arrest.
Oh, good golly.
But because I'm a nice guy, I'm going to give you one last chance. I got a phone call from that loony in the lunch wagon. She wants to see you. Only you.
She does? Oh, her pants are blazing for you, Lieutenant Crosby.
The movie co-stars Ali Sheedy as an animal lover who adopts Number 5 and tries to protect him from the army.
Number 5 is right here with us. I've got it completely under my control. We're coming out now.
Howard! They're cooking something up. I can smell it. We've got to fry them now, Howard.
Don't you dare shoot your stupid gun!
Where's Number 5?
He's fine. He's in the van.
Okay. Why don't you and the young lady just get away from the van and let us handle it?
Yes, Stephanie, get away. Danger.
Listen, I know what the malfunction is.
Sorry, Crosby. You can't take any more chances. We're not losing that thing again.
Howard, if you just come over and inspect the unit, if you find
You're a defensive liar!
As soon as they're clear, open fire! What the hell have you done? I'll take care of this. Oh, you're not taking over. Don't listen.
he's alive, I can prove it.
You don't really see enough of the robot there to figure out that it really is a really cute little robot, a machine that is more lifelike and has more personality even than R2-D2 and C-3PO, who kind of set the standard for these sorts of creatures in Star Wars, and obviously with the inspiration for this one, just as its voice came from E.T. Credit where due, anyway. The robot was engineered by Sid Mead and Eric Allard, and I mention their names because they made almost the only creative contribution to this really bad movie. The Short Circuit screenplay reads like a children's movie, and maybe for preschoolers, this would be an entertaining film. They can play it over and over again on their VCRs in a couple of months. It's a dumb, obvious, and predictable movie. It never realizes the potential of the marvelous machine that was built for it, and Steve Guttenberg is sure the wrong choice for the scientist. I think maybe they hoped he'd appeal to teenagers, but the only thing that might have even begun to save this movie would have been a genuine mad scientist, somebody like that character Doc in Back to the Future.
But then you couldn't have, of course, had that phony romance that we get there. We had to pit, they cast this film for the teenage market with Guttenberg and with Ali Sheedy. And I'll tell you how bad this movie is. Guttenberg is quite awful, which I didn't like him in the Police Academy movies either. I didn't like him here. But Ali Sheedy, I have never not liked. I have always liked in the movies. I've always found her to be realistic and an honest actress. Here, she's bad. It's because her character is a phony pet lover who obviously is going to save the robot, and we all know it. She has no lines. It's a worthless performance because there's nothing to work with.
Well, that gets you into the whole theory of what is movie acting anyway. You say she's bad. Actually, I think she's quite adequate at doing a job that should have never been done, and she does a very good job of reading dialogue that nobody wants to hear. So that's the problem. You're right. It's totally contrived. Here's the girl. Here's the boy. They're going to fall in love. The robot is going to be kind of best man or maid of honor, but it's just totally unfocused.
The only thing that I disagree with you on is the robot mechanically is interesting the way it moves.
Yeah.
But I don't think the robot has as much of personality. I want to ask Steven Spielberg why E.T. works and why we fall in love with creatures.
Yeah.
His answer was the eyes. The robot's eyes are totally black, and I did not relate.
Not true. As a matter of fact, it does have irises that open and close, and the eyes do move around.
Most of the time we see it, it's black, and I did
not
relate to that
robot. They're just not anthropomorphic eyes.
That's why I like them.
That's the word you're looking for.
You could fall in love with a machine, I couldn't.
Okay, fine. Coming up next at the movies, Richard Pryor tells all about his career and how it nearly killed him.
Is nothing less than one of the year's best, featuring one of our most popular stars in a semi-autobiographical film that manages both to tell some hard truths about his life while remaining most entertaining. The life belongs to Richard Pryor. The film is called JoJo Dancer, Your Life is Calling, with Pryor playing himself, a comic he called JoJo Dancer. Here's a powerful opening scene as we see the hold that drugs eventually get on Pryor. In this scene, he's torn between looking for cocaine crystals on his carpet of his home and then throwing away his drug habit for good. He is really torn up in here.
Gonna let it be. I ain't gonna get me.
Yeah, that man is hooked. And if he lies in a hospital bed, he will reflect on every aspect of his life, including his marriage at the beginning of his career as a comedian.
Why'd you marry me, JoJo?
What are you talking about? What?
Because you thought I was pregnant. But I'm sorry I tricked you. I'm sorry I wasn't pregnant. I'm sorry. I'm not.
But it's all right.
I just didn't want to be alone.
Hey, I didn't want to be alone. All right, so I married you, so I wouldn't be alone. So we're not alone. Let's go.
I can't go.
You're not gonna go?
No, baby.
Cash this in, and then they'll give you the money for it.
Well, if it doesn't work out there, will you come back here, home? I mean, I'll be here waiting for you.
Oh, you don't understand. I'm not coming back here.
The tenderest scene in the movie? Oh, that's easy. It's his reflection on his boyhood and the woman he loved the most, his grandmother. Here, she consoles him after some boys beat him up.
Mama feels real good, Mama. Don't nobody beat on no dancer.
You got to look out for yourself. You know, because Grandmama ain't always going to be here to see about you. Come over here to me.
You will live forever, Mama.
Oh, sweetheart. If you say so, I bet it's going to happen. Thank you.
That's a powerful scene, and that was Carmen McRae, and a wonderful bit of casting and a terrific performance as Pryor's grandmother, who really did operate a bawdy house in Peoria, Illinois. Another bit of good casting is Billy Eckstein, faces we just don't get to see much anymore. Billy Eckstein plays the MC of the nightclub where Pryor works, and he's also the guy who gives Pryor his first pills to help him with his act. Unfortunately, it hurts him with his life. What we haven't shown you are the comedy routines in this movie, but Pryor plays that down in the film, I think because he knows that we all know just how funny he is, and he sure is hilarious doing a strip number in this picture. You must see this to believe it. I mean, Richard Pryor playing a woman stripping, and we really think for a second it might be a woman up there. What's special here, though, is the head-on way he treats his drug addiction and his redemption. Drugs kill. They can kill the biggest star with all the money and all the talent and all the brains in the world. Thankfully, Richard Pryor lived to tell that story. He wrote and directed this movie, and I've been saying for years he hasn't had a part that is worth him. This one is worth him. It's him.
That's right. The only thing, and I like the movie too, not quite as much as you did, because it seems to me as if the third act is missing. We have the childhood also, with nostalgia, with color, with excitement, with the memory of the experiences that he went through. We have the rise to stardom and the terrible descent into drug addiction. What we don't really have is the redemption. You said it's there, but I don't know. I would like to see more of the process by which Richard Pryor was able to pull himself back from the brink that accident represented.
I'll say this. I could watch at this level of storytelling, this level of candor and honesty of a Hollywood figure about himself, which we never get in the movies.
That's right.
I could watch this for 6 hours. I mean,
I understand that there may be a sequel to this
then
film,
I will
and I would like to see it because I would like to know the rest of the story. What's here? I'll talk about that. As an actor, as a director, as a writer, Richard Pryor is at the top of his form in this movie, and it is really good. The only feeling I had at the end was a sense of incompleteness. The film kind of ends with that. The film ends with that monologue on stage that doesn't really seem to tell the whole story. I would like a little bit more of how he came back from that brink.
Well, I think I know how he did it. I think it suggested that he eventually somehow got his life together and stopped. I didn't think I needed it spelled out. I put this in a class with all that jazz, the Bob Fosse confessional autobiography about his workaholism. Here is Pryor on drug addiction, and I think he does it spectacularly. Next at the movies, Broken Rainbow, this year's Academy Award winner, is Best Documentary, now going into national release.
The birth defect ratio on the Navajo reservation is twice the national average. Exposure to radiation is the probable cause.
The movie won this year's Academy Award for Best Documentary, although there are a lot of techniques in this movie that do not exactly represent documentary filmmaking at its finest. The name of the movie is Broken Rainbow, and it's a protest against bureaucratic government policies that are causing thousands of Navajo and Hopi Indians to be uprooted from their ancestral homelands in the Southwest. The film thinks there's an ulterior motive, big mining companies that want the coal and mineral wealth that's under those Indian lands. And here's a montage of 3 scenes from the movie, which is narrated by Martin Sheen.
Since before human memory, winds and waters have sculpted this sacred Indian land and shaped the landscape like no other on earth. For 150,000 moons, Indian prayers have bonded the land and sky. In 1974, Congress passed a law ordering 10,000 Navajo off their land. Land, the government says, belongs to the Hopi tribe. Congress has ordered the Navajo to move by 1986, despite the protests of the traditional Hopi and Navajo people.
Washington says, go away, go someplace else. Go walk among people and places you don't know. We're not hard enough to survive in places that we're unfamiliar with. If we leave here, we'll grieve for our homeland, and it'll kill us.
I really wish that Navajo leaders and Navajo people generally would take a look at this and say, we don't like it. It's rotten. It's unfair. We wish they had done it some other way. But we're Americans like everyone else, and we can change if we have to, and we'll find some more land that our kids will think is just as good as this land and get on with it.
Broken Rainbow made me angry with the story of those Indians, and I was really shocked that Congressman Udall, who I have always respected, would be so insensitive to the feelings of these people and how their way of life and their ancient traditions are being disrupted by a bunch of politicians in Washington. And that's the purpose of this movie, which will be playing this week in about 100 cities around the country. I agree with the film's message. What I do not admire is its documentary technique. It's a confusing mixture of narration that tells us one thing, pictures that often show us something else. It even throws in old Western footage that has nothing to do with those people or their stories, uses a shotgun approach, confusing the right of the people to stay on the land with all sorts of unproven conspiracy theories about who might want to push them off and why. Journalistically, Broken Rainbow uses slipshod techniques, but its heart is in the right place.
Well, of course its heart is in the right place, and that's why we're moved by it. But I must admit, and I'm sort of glad that, professionally that you spotted it too. I don't mean to patronize you with that remark. I was just going to say, I felt the same way. Slipshod techniques. For example, here's Congressman Udall, a very highly regarded man. I wanted someone to follow up. And I said, how can you say that? I wanted to hear that voice. I wanted Mike Wallace, if you will.
But they don't want to question him because they want to take that soundbite and use it in order to show that he's insensitive.
And then they move on to the next thing.
He's bad. Let's not go back to him. Let's not try to pin him down. Let's not try to
I want to
get
give you another example. The thing you mentioned about the mineral companies. Let's go. I mean, let's face it. 60 Minutes could do this story better than the way that this movie has been done.
Oh, lots better, yeah.
And it could do it in 20 minutes. Now, give them 90 minutes. I mean, you would have an extraordinary documentary. This is a shocking, terrible story, badly told.
So here's a funny thing, then. In that case, do we recommend it or not?
You can recommend it, but you can't. You can recommend the issue, but you can recommend the film.
Got to have a lot of footnotes underneath your recommendation.
Yeah, I guess that's
true. To recap our reactions to the movies on this program, both Gene and I voted thumbs down on the empty comedy Last Resort, a good idea ruined by a stupid script. And 2 more downturn thumbs for Short Circuits and Good Ideas, that Steve Guttenberg is a stiff in a story that gives all of its good lines to robots. And we split only in degree on Richard Pryor's autobiography, JoJo Dancer, Your Life is Calling. Gene thinks it's courageous, honest, and funny. I wanted more on Pryor's recovery process, but still 2 thumbs up. And finally, well, 2 thumbs down for Broken Rainbow. Gene was moved by it. So was I, but neither of us thought that the journalism in the film was worthy of the subject matter. A much better film could have been made with the same materials.
That's right. I mean, that's what I feel when I see that. No, I'm not going to tell my friend to go see it. You know why? Because I know that they know that the Indians are being ripped off. They've been ripped off for centuries. It's not going to change. And that's a tragedy. I just wish a better film had been made.
So then you wonder why the Academy Award was given to it. And it was probably because everybody thought, gee, it's terrible what's being done to the Indians, so let's give them an Oscar, which is terrific. You know, you can take their Oscar and move to Arizona with it. It seems to me that filmmaking is one thing, messages are another, even though we like the message.
My message is see the Richard Pryor movie. That's it for this week. Next at the movies, 4 new ones, including Sweet Liberty, starring Alan Alda as a professor who writes a book that Michael Caine stars in as a movie. And Top Gun, with Tom Cruise and Kelly McGillis in her first movie since Witness. That's next week. Until then, we'll see you at the movies.
Nestle Crunch. It's creamy milk chocolate and crispy crunchies. Chocolate is scrunches when it crunches. That's why you'll love Nestle Crunch. Jovan Musk for men and women. We help America stay sexy. Glade Fresh. Make your home a fresher place to be with 13 natural scents, including Highland Blossom and April Meadows.